Hello, everyone. My name is Kate,
And I'm Billy Merryman.
and you're listening to Artwise. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Artwise. My name is Kate, and you're listening to Artwise. I just ate 6 donuts this morning.
My God.
Yeah. Do you want to see a picture? Now, once again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually see this photo of these donuts. But if you're not, I'll describe them to you. They look really good. Yeah? What do you think?
Where did you get them?
The food truck yesterday.
Oh, did you go to the? Oh yeah, what's the name?
Craving Donuts.
Yeah, same one. Yeah, we got the lemon one. It was good. The lemon with coconut, Meyer lemon and coconut.
If you're in the Tampa area and you see a pink food truck called Craving Donuts, they have really good donuts. They're like cake donuts with a sauce over them. They're really good. I got 6 of them. I got the Fruit Loops donut. We got like a lemon coconut, strawberry. We got the guava one, the cookies and cream, and the maple bacon. I do really like the maple bacon, but it's very different from the other donuts. This is good though. This is my dad.
Hello.
He's actually been on Artwise before. If you are an OG fan, his first episode that he was on was episode 7. So now we're gonna just do a part 2 because that episode was actually pretty popular. So, do you have anything you want to add?
I think you said it all.
All right. So
Let's get started.
why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Billy?
Okay. So, been an art director, artist, illustrator, freelance, all that crap, for over 30 years, and kind of transitioned into tech, software development, and multimedia development. Recently, in the last couple of years, as part of a career transition, and I still do art for myself on the side, personal stuff. But for the most part, the work I do is completely different from the job that I left before, the one I have now.
That's really interesting. So, this episode, I think I've decided, I just made this decision because, this is my podcast. I can do whatever I want.
Of course,
This episode's also going to double as a roast. I feel like this is one of the only opportunities I have to do that because usually I interview strangers and I feel like it's rude to like roast people that you don't really know.
well, you can't. You have to know them to roast them unless you Google them and look up all the information.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I just decided that. So
Okay.
there's that. So I don't remember honestly. I probably should have listened to your episode before we sat down, the first episode, but there's probably a lot of people listening who have not listened to that episode because it's so old, just like you. So why don't you go ahead and talk about your art origin story? What sparked your interest in art and had you thinking that you were going to start working as a professional in the art industry?
So when I was a kid, we had several people on more your grandmother's side than your grandfather's side, but that were artists. I had a lot of encouragement and support for it. My grandfather worked at a not when I was alive, but before he had kids, he worked at a sign company. So he was more aware of like the commercial side and painting signs and things like that. So the combination of like artwork and doing art myself, and then them seeing I had a talent for it beyond, the average child, I guess, and getting into commercial stuff like cereal boxes. Like someone did that artwork, and I thought it was neat that it was more than just fine art, because a lot where the community I came from was fine art. There was a fine artist there by the name of Beanie Backus, real popular in that area of the east coast of Florida. And so there were a lot of fine art shows and a lot of fine artists, but I like the idea of being able to, use your art in a commercial way. so that just sparked my interest, and the family, as you know, is very supportive. So I was able to develop that talent and continue to draw and have support for art supplies and whatever else. Um, and then actually start to do work like in high school before I went to college, to basically get experience so that I'd have something on my resume besides just the degree. And the combination of that freelance and working with a variety of clients and a variety of things, and then of course getting out of college and starting to work in the field, that just that kind of kept me going.
Oh, okay. Well, so I do have a question for you. So, hypothetically, if you were to ever, because you said that you did have support from your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetically, if you were to ever have children, do you think that you would be supportive of your child if they wanted to become an artist?
Yes, of course I would.
That's really interesting because
Yeah.
I read an article the other day about the Goosebumps books.
Yeah.
The guy who illustrated like pretty much all the covers of the Goosebumps books did like an interview a few years back, and he said that if his child wanted to go into the arts, he said he wouldn't let his kids do that because
I I heard that as well
he
about him.
hates it. He hates it, and I
Yeah.
think he has a good point. He does because it is hard, but people are really mean about
Yeah, but
art.
that's just people.
And his covers are really good too. So it's kind of surprised me that he seemed like everybody, because I think his main reasoning was like the unsolicited critique and people making you feel bad about something you worked really hard on, which I think is understandable.
But
But
that's
his work is really good. I always liked the Goosebumps books as a kid in the covers. So
I think that's more of today's age. I mean, there was always critics, but it doesn't mean you would hear it. Now you have it right in front of you. People make comments or whatever. But I think it's also how you put yourself out there. I mean, if you just do art, you just want to share your art, and you do your posts or whatever, and you're you don't necessarily get that many bad comments necessarily. It just depends on how you put it out there.
I
I
get a
think the
lot.
more
I get a
I,
lot of
I
bad
just think it
comments.
depends on how you put it out there. But I mean, you have to be okay with it. If you really want to do it, you just like don't read them. That's the easiest thing to do.
It's hard to not read them though. I was just
Yeah.
talking about this with somebody too because you're not famous like me, so you don't really understand. But
Okay.
like on TikTok, there's no way. TikTok is probably it's actually not as bad. And it's funny too cuz depending on like the platform that you're sharing your work on, like you'll notice like a difference. So like for example, I get hate comments that are very different on TikTok than the ones I get on Instagram. So like here's a really good example. So I posted this video on TikTok, and I've been doing, I don't know, you don't have TikTok.
No, I do not.
Yeah, you're too old for it. They don't let you if you're past a certain age. So if
Your mother
you
does. We're only a year apart.
she's younger than you. You're
Yeah,
at
a year
least
apart.
you're at least 1,000 years old. Anybody who's watching the video version of this right now can tell.
Uh,
But on TikTok, I posted this video, and it's doing pretty well. It's not my most popular video, but I think it's sitting right at around 200,000 views right now. And I like to post kind of like intermittently videos of story times from my past as working at a custom t-shirt shop. And I had this woman come in, and I did like a little reenactment for TikTok, and she came into the shop with a folded up business card that she pulled out of her purse and was like, "Can you put this on shirts?" And I was like, "No, I can't because this is a folded up business card. Do you have like the file that you use to make the business card?" And she was like, "Oh no, like I used clip art and I made it in a Word document and I just printed it out on my computer." And I was like, "Yeah, no. Did you save the Word document?" And she was like, "Well, why would I need to save it when I have the paper right here?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely not." And I was like, this is going to need to be vectorized. And her issue with that was that she wanted it the same day. And I said, well, this is going to take me all day tomorrow. And that's something that I said in the video was, oh, this is going to take me all day tomorrow. Because the logo that she had, it wasn't really like a logo. It was like a bunch of different clip art that she put together and then used a font that I could not find. So I had to basically trace all this different clip art. It was like more than 10 colors. It had like glitter textures in it and gradients. It was really complicated. And so that's why I said this is going to take me all day tomorrow. And then I think the reason it went viral, because I got flooded with comments saying, if you're a real graphic designer, that shouldn't take you more than 2 hours. But like nobody saw the logo. So like they didn't know how complicated it was and how many colors there was. And a lot of people said, oh, if you just would have sent it on somebody to Fiverr for $5, you would have had it vectorized in 20 minutes or something like that. And one lady said, like, from a real graphic designer, that should never take you more than 2 hours. And people are just really, really condescending on TikTok. But I posted that same video on YouTube and everybody was like, oh my gosh, so true. Because I think YouTube has older people than TikTok. So they kind of understand and they're not like really condescending and like rude. But then I posted another video that was a story time from the same custom t shirt shop, but it was a different video. And so me and Mike, my old manager at the custom t-shirt shop, I don't know if you've ever done this before because you also have made t-shirts before, but when you make vinyl t-shirts, sometimes if you're making like pressing the shirt, sometimes like a hair gets pressed underneath
Oh, yeah.
the vinyl, and people get really like unreasonably upset about that. And I made a video showing like how we fixed it, which the way that me and Mike used to fix it is we would just take a lighter and we would just burn the hair and then it'd be gone. And so I did that in front of a customer once and she was like really grossed out by that. And everybody in the comments on TikTok was like, oh my gosh, that's so helpful. I make vinyl t shirts on my Cricut all the time. And like this happens so often. I didn't know you could just burn the hair. That's so smart. And then on YouTube, I had a bunch of old people being like, you should remake the shirt. That's disgusting. If I go to a restaurant and there's hair in my food, I have them remake the food. And I like responded to someone and I said, I didn't realize you were eating your t-shirts. Like, I'll keep that in mind next
Oh my
time.
God.
But I feel like it's a lot of it is the different platforms. Like you'll get very different. Everybody likes to complain, but depending on the platform you're on, you'll get like very different reactions out of people. And I feel
Mhm.
like no matter where you post, you'll get some type of like rude comments on things, especially if you're consistent with it and you start to gain like more of a following. But I don't think I would discourage somebody from posting because of that, cuz if those comments are bothering you, like if what other people think is bothering you that much that you don't want to do something, that's like, I hate to say it's like kind of something that you have, because it does bother me too. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it doesn't bother me when people are mean on the internet. But at the end of the day, like it's my reaction that's upsetting me, because like their rudeness has like nothing to do with me, even though it kind of seems like it. So,
Well, that's just the the outside of the internet in a studio, for example, of in a corporate setting. That's something that everyone's going to criticize your work.
yeah, but,
So you
and
have to
that's,
be prepared for that. That's part of the industry. And if you're
well,
not, then
duh.
you can do your own fine art if you want, and if it sells, great. But you're always going to have critics. So if you can't take that,
But
then
that's exactly what I was saying, was it's about the environment that you're in. I don't know if you remember, but I did work in corporate for over 3 years, and like
yeah, yeah,
I
you
didn't,
remind us all the time. Yeah,
yeah, I didn't go into a, what did we call them, like the reviews where we reviewed our work. Like I was not expecting to come out of there spotless, but like nobody, it wasn't personal. It was a room full of like, sometimes like there was like 10 people in there who would just be like, oh, I don't like that. and then somebody be like, yeah, change it, and then they go to the next one. Like, it's not personal. But on
Yeah,
the internet, people make it so personal. They're like, well, coming from a real graphic designer, it should not take you more than 2 hours, like not even knowing or seeing the artwork at
yeah,
all.
but that's not my
Like,
point. My point is that what you're describing in that corporate environment was just your experience, but as creative artists in the context of a review, it's a little more in depth. But my point is you actually prove a good point. Is like that shouldn't bother anyone because it's not personal, right? But it does. It bothers people. We've had people cry in the office before. And it's like, what are you crying for? But it bothers them that much, So it's like maybe you should do something different then, because it's like it's not that big a deal.
yeah, that is true. I feel like it shouldn't be personal, but it's a lot of people online, especially people who aren't professionals, make it personal, and I think that's the issue that a lot of people have. And I can see why somebody like the illustrator who made the covers for the Goosebumps novels, like I can totally see why he would feel that way, because the people that are consuming Goosebumps novels are usually children. They don't probably know what they're talking about. It's a lot of young people, and I don't know. It's all about environment. I had somebody comment on one of my posts as well. I made a video talking about this because I talk about this a lot because a lot of people are really stupid. And I made a video about it, and somebody said, like, if somebody is posting something publicly on the internet, like, that means like they're inviting art critique. And I was like, no, that's not really true, because usually the end goal of posting your art on the internet is to gain clients, not to have people just like attack you personally. And I tried to explain to them it's about context, and they were like, okay, so next time I, go to my art gallery that I own, I'm just going to sit there in silence. And I'm like, it's about the environment. Not like, if I'm consenting to have my work in a gallery, clearly that's what a gallery's for people to go in and discuss the work. But like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook is not an art gallery. It's like just full of random people. Like, who, so it's like, and also like when you're in an art gallery and you're standing there next to your friend, I mean, the artist might be standing behind you, but most of the time they're not going to hear what you're saying, so it doesn't really matter. But on in like TikTok comments, oh, that's another thing too. I post my art on TikTok every single day, and I so often will have people in the comments argue with each other, like, oh, I think this person's better than me. Oh no, your art's way better than theirs. Like, as if I can't see it because it's on
Yeah,
my posts. And I think that's so, I mean, I don't really care. I think it was kind of funny. But it's happened like a few different times this week, and I'm like, you guys are tagging each other, and it is like it's boosting my content to the algorithm, so I'm like, okay, go for it. But it's kind of funny because people, I think, forget that like the person making the content is probably seeing it. And it's weird because I'm about to hit 10,000 followers on TikTok, which is the most I've ever had on any plat. Why did you make that face? You didn't know I had that many?
no, no, you had a orb behind you flying around.
I'll deal with that later.
It went down and then it came back straight up, and I don't see it anymore. It was really weird.
I
Because
told I told you my I'm haunted.
really,
I don't think it's the shed because it wasn't haunted when we moved
well, I
here.
was trying to see. That's why I looked. I was trying to see if it was just dust or an insect, but it didn't. It could have been an insect, but it was
No,
hard to tell.
I'm telling you, I see orbs in here all the time, especially through the cameras.
Yeah, it was weird.
Okay. I
I
thought
don't
you
know
were
if
maybe.
anyone else to see it. You have to look back at the recording.
Yeah, if you
Because you
guys.
do have light coming in from that window, and I see the reflections. That's not what it was because it moved. It went like this and then went straight up.
Oh.
So it could have been an insect, but it's hard to tell.
No, it probably was an orb. I've
Yeah.
told you, I see them all the time when I record in here.
Hmm.
It's creepy. But it makes no sense because like this shed literally is over like what used to be like Chris's yard, so it just doesn't. But
Well, yeah, but you don't know what was in who was there before they
I
lived
do
there. let's see, when did they move in? Like 98?
There was
I
no
think they
house there. It was just land. They
no, it was
built.
land, but that doesn't mean anything. You could be living on an Indian burial ground or something like that. You never know.
I don't think that's the
I
case,
don't think
but
so either, but it could be. The people in Poltergeist didn't know that they were over an Indian burial ground in the movie. They found out awfully quick.
okay. Well, I'll look into that.
Turn on your
But
TV, see if you get white noise that tells you to kill your family or something like that.
nah, I'm good.
Okay.
But I have like 10. I'm about to hit 10K on TikTok, which is the most I've had on any platform. It's still like the most I have on any platform by kind of a lot. And then right behind it, I have Instagram and YouTube. Not right behind it actually, very far behind it. But I think people see like a number like that, and I know 10K is not really a lot, like comparatively to other people, but I feel like for some reason they think it's going to get buried, and it really genuinely doesn't. Like, I see almost every single comment because, again, like what I was saying earlier, you can't just not read the comments because you're constantly getting notifications and it just comes up on your phone. And you can turn off notifications for comments, which I've done before, but it doesn't really help because every time you open the app, it'll still tell you if you have a new comment, and the comments actually show up before anything else. So even if you're actively like avoiding looking at the comments, unless you have like thousands and thousands coming in a day, you're going to see all of them. So,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying it's your choice to read it or not, depending on what it is. Because there's a lot of people who do. They're in different industries, but they do a regular podcast and they get a lot of, I guess I would just call it in general, hate comments because they're talking about topics like in politics or something that's very sensitive. And, they're going to get people agree and people disagree. And
mhm.
so I'm just saying you have to make that determination what affects you and how you're going to tackle it.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. That's fine. How did you start your career in art?
You already asked me that. I said it.
No, I asked what your origin story was.
Oh, how did I start my career? Well, like I said, I started in high school. What I did was I went to, in the area where I'm from, east coast of Florida, from a city called Fort Pierce. So around Fort Pierce, there is, to the south directly is Port St. Lucie, and to the north directly is Vero. And then if you keep going north, you get into Stewart, Jupiter, places like that. So in some of those places, they had a few, not major like Chicago, but some pretty big ad agencies. So I started there. Just it wasn't like it is today. You just show up, you got some artwork on you. I'd like to get some work. They look at your artwork. They make their comments or whatever, and if they have stuff that fits your style of work, then you can get it. And then I also went to businesses that either I knew or I frequented and just asked if they needed any design or anything. And a lot of work in the beginning I did for barter. There was a skate, actually a surf shop, but they had skate supplies, and I skateboarded a lot. So he's like, "Well, would you do it for skate supplies?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would because they're expensive." And so a lot of work I did in the beginning, I did for barter, but not all of it. A lot of it was just pay because I didn't work just for that one shop, but I did a variety of stuff for that. I did a lot of stuff like we've been doing together, the window decoration, especially the holidays. They always did Christmas stuff and sales and whatnot. So they wanted a little bit of artwork, and then they wanted the words, like whatever was on sale and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I started with freelance. And then after school or after college, I mean, I just applied to jobs, and then kept doing freelance a little bit, but got I think what was my first job? I was published in a book, but I think my first regular job, trying to think if I had something before Club Z. I don't think I did. No, I did. That's wrong. Pharmaceutical company was my first job in art, and that was for basically the advertising in there. So when they would run magazine ads, or if they were even, I did a storyboard for a television ad too. Um, and then from there, I went to the kids magazine Club Z. But those are the earliest, and until I got into the big corporate job at VF, and that lasted 21 years with that company, and then moved to Fanatics for another couple of years. But that was probably the longest job that was in corporate, and I just kept doing freelance on the side. If I wanted to do something that I couldn't do there, I just got freelance on the side.
Hmm. Interesting. So you don't do that anymore. So how was your transition from art direction to into project management? How has that been for you, and what challenges have you faced when transitioning from those two types of roles?
The main challenge has just been, so when I left Fanatics, I went back. I had gotten the grant to go back to school. I got certified in what's called Scrum. So that's, if you're anybody listening is familiar with that, it's part of agile development.
Sounds pretty scrummy.
Yeah, sure. But all it really means is it's a framework that allows teams to rapidly come up with new ideas and innovations for a given product, and then deliver that as a result to an update to that product. So it's most common in software development because you just think of an app. Like you get updates for apps all the time, and it says this is a bug fix or this is whatever. Well, a lot of companies use agile development, and that enables them through a process, a framework to continuously do that. But really, the education of tech and things like that was probably the biggest challenge. And then learning some stuff that I kind of knew but didn't know specifics on it. Um, but I think why I did well was the same reason. I think there's managers and leaders, right? And the big difference is, to be a good manager, you need to be organized, detail oriented, and be able to focus and really understand the bigger picture on things in addition to the daily task. So that enabled me to be able to manage products easily, because that's something that I'm good at. Leadership is different because no one reports to me. So I take those two things separate. But those two things together make, to me, in my opinion, a good art director, because you have to really understand um, the artists themselves and what needs to get done from a creative standpoint, but then know how to motivate them to get that done. In addition to the management side, is tracking it all and making sure that it all does get done, and you don't forget anything or nothing slips through the cracks or any of that kind of stuff. So,
So
especially in a bigger corporate job, it's a little bit different in a smaller company because you have to do a lot of the art yourself, which is fine, which I really like. But
yes, so someone like me,
what do you mean by that?
like I'd make a good art director probably.
Really? Probably?
I've never done it before, so I don't know for a
Exactly.
fact, but I think
Maybe you
probably
would.
I would.
But your mother seems to think it's just telling people what to do. She said that's why I like management jobs. I like to tell people what to do. That's not exactly the way it works.
You
But
are bossy and rude and
yeah,
disrespectful to
no, I
me.
don't think I'm rude and disrespectful, but like you're being right now.
I'm that's that's not true.
Oh, is that
It's,
true? No.
no. I'm
Let's let the
very
internet decide.
mm,
Okay, go
well,
ahead.
no, it's okay. You've already ruined it.
You ruined the whole episode.
Yeah. Well, we're only 30 minutes in, so it's
I
fine.
know.
Uh, it's a um, how do you maintain your creativity in your current role? And what types of personal artwork do you create in your spare time to still have those skills?
Okay, so the first part, we do a lot of fun projects, and we have some bigger projects like museums. So you think of like in the area, like when you grew up, we went to Mosey a lot.
Mosey was so cool. I want to go again, but I think I'm too old.
No, you're never too old. But So if you think about like what we would call a museum kiosk, so that's just anything you can come up. It could be a touch screen, it could be something you interact with, you touch, whatever. So we will design a lot of those exhibits and then program it to work, and then there's updates sometimes along the way, but we'll do stuff like that, and we'll do make apps, and sometimes that's fun. We have to test everything before it goes to the client. There is UI and UX that's involved. We have designers, but sometimes I'll get involved more in the UX and do the architecture of the site or the web application or the mobile app. And then there's wireframes, which would be different from the UI. So wireframes typically will address like the user flow, the experience that the user has in using it, and does it solve the problems both of the app and what we expect people to use that particular app for. So there's things like that that's in work that it allows me to be creative. Or if we just need to problem solve and we have a conversation, and then from that conversation, we make the architecture of whatever it is. Websites are a little bit different because you don't always need to do that. A lot of times, a lot of sites we have or we get, people already have one and they just need an update. They want an up, they want to refresh. So you don't really need to do that because all the architecture is already there. We're just updating it, making it a little bit better or modern or something like that. But as far as my personal projects, I just draw my sketchbook, and I keep up with art in different ways in a couple different platforms. Other artists, meaning other artists, and the stuff that I like. And I like to do a lot of the vintage stuff. So I've been doing like posters and stuff for my own involvement. So I got another one that I'm going to work on. The Beatles was the last one that I did. Kiss before that, the rock band Kiss, and I did that poster for your grandfather for Christmas, the Rifleman. That's an old Western he likes to watch. So the vintage stuff I really like to do.
Yeah, that's real
Probably gonna
nice.
do a shop of stuff like that, stickers
You
and prints and stuff.
you
I
gotta
just haven't done it
yeah,
yet.
you gotta do it's so easy. Like you literally don't have to do anything. You gotta open up a print on demand shop because you get
Well, I got to do
paid.
the work though. I don't have enough of that because I haven't really worked on it. But
You think that, but I have a lot of stuff that I have just that I made for fun that I didn't think I could use in my store that I uploaded, and I my store is finally starting to make some money consistently, which is nice. And I don't
yeah,
have
your
to do
mother your mother
anything.
told me.
I
She
don't have
said
to do anything either. It's really nice cuz they print and ship everything for you.
yeah. Well, that's what we would do. But she hasn't sold any of those shirts yet. She's still selling her product mainly, but hopefully she's getting a lot of views. Hopefully we'll do that. But yeah, that's what I plan to do. I don't know, just haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
And
it does
books, a
it is
KDP. I want to open I want to start a KDP account. I want to start doing books.
yeah, you use your regular Amazon accounts. It's pretty cool. I need to make more books too, but I haven't sold. I think I've sold two on the KDP, but I only have two journals. But to like strangers, I think I've only sold two. But I think you have to really study the search engine optimization of it too,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think that's the issue that I had with mine. I just made them and I thought, oh, the art's cool, people will buy it, but if no one can find it, nobody's gonna buy it, obviously. So that's like something to keep in mind when doing that. But and that's something too. Everyone listening to this, anybody can set up those shops. It is like a little bit of a learning curve at first, and it is kind of a lot of work just getting set up. But what's nice is you don't have to worry about making or like printing things yourself or the shipping. So once it's uploaded, you're done. But you do have to consistently keep making stuff and uploading stuff. But it is like extra money that I get every month. Like it'll pay for my my coffee right now. That's where I'm at. But
And you're specifically talking about Printify, just in case we didn't say the word.
Printify, yeah, I use Printify through my Etsy shop. I am thinking about making a switch to because I'm in a design the Design Biz Academy by the Brief Collective. I'm working on basically uprooting my website, which I currently use Squarespace. I'm going to switch to Show It because that's what they teach in the Design Business Academy, and I've heard that it's better. And I can use WooCommerce through Show It. So I think I'm going to move my site just to my website. Not all of it, but the Artwise podcast merchandise I sell through my website, my Squarespace website, and I think I'm going to move that to from Squarespace to WooCommerce here in the next couple months because my website is going to expire in March and I want to switch to Show It from Squarespace. So, yeah, but I do use Printify for both Etsy and for my website.
Hmm.
I think pretty much any website that you have, you can use like Shopify, like they
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of options through Printify. And
Yeah.
Amazon KDP, it's just they just put your stuff on Amazon. It's
Right.
really simple. The only thing that's kind of confusing is making the covers because you don't have like separate images for the front cover and the back cover. It's like one print.
Right.
And it's a little bit confusing because there's like four different saved zones depending on like the size that you're making it. And even if you download the template and you pull it into Illustrator, it's not to size. So it is a little bit confusing to get your stuff centered on the front cover, like the title and stuff. But it's not that hard. Like if you know what you're doing, it took me a minute for the first one that I made. It was fine, but it's nice. Like it's nice passive income. And if you keep uploading, I know a few artists who make like a full-time income and they don't really, all they have to do is upload and obviously customer service. But so far I've had quite a few sales and I've only ever had one issue, and it wasn't my fault and it wasn't Printify's fault. It was the person who was ordered the wrong size on accident. And at that point, like, you can decide if you want to help them or not, if it's like the person's fault. And if it's Printify's fault, their customer service is usually pretty decent about just fixing it. So they're pretty good. And it's good like side money. It is work, but it's passive once it's set up. So there's no
Right.
reason not to do it. So what about pet portraits? I know you do those. I think everybody does those. Every artist I know does them, and I think it's like yours are really good because they almost look like pictures. But what? Why do you do those? Because they seem like kind of a pain.
Well, I wouldn't say that they're a pain. For me, it's just because I like doing it, and the result is nice to look at, and it's also nice to do something for somebody. Not every single one that I've done, obviously, some of them were for the pets are still alive, but a lot of them, the pets have passed on, and they're doing that to remember their pet. So that's can be kind of tricky as far as the people really love them, and then they like it, but they're also upset at the same time. They're remembering their pet, so that's kind of weird. I'd probably say like 80% of the ones that I do are that case,
So
and that's how
you
I
like
got them.
yeah you like to make people cry. That's like something
Yeah,
you
that's what
enjoy.
I like to do. No, I'm just saying that most of the time that's how I originally got started in it. They're like, "Oh, I want to do this for my mom because she had this cat." Like that's the first one I did actually a long time ago was a cat, and all the rest of them were dogs. But they're like, "Oh, and this pet died, and she really loved it. I want her to remember it. So could you do this?" And then I do that, and then if I don't see them get it themselves, they usually just tell me, "Yeah, they really loved it," and that kind of thing. So it's nice to be able to do something that's personal for people and that has a good result, because it's by hand. You could do them digitally. I know a couple artists who do digital and then they just do like a print, but I don't know. I think it's a little nicer to do them by hand.
Yeah, I drew. Do you want to see one that I just made? You see Bob back there?
Okay. Yeah.
People watching, there's a little Bob. Her name is Miss Knives, but I call her Bookshelf Bob because she likes to sit on the bookshelf. And I drew a little picture of her. It is so cool. Hold on. This is a Bookshelf Bob. Bookshelf Bob. And she's saying, "Yeah, I read. What about it?" Bookshelf Bob,
Yeah.
everybody. It's nice. Looks just like her. Beautiful. Any artist can draw pet portraits, unless,
Well, maybe.
well, I mean, anybody can try. But so, as we discussed, we talked about this a little bit earlier. But your daughter is actually a very popular TikTok artist and graphic designer.
Okay.
She, you know, can you tell us more about that? About that?
So you want me to tell your listeners about you?
Yeah,
You
like,
don't think that you tell them enough about yourself already?
yeah, I was just wondering if you get jealous of maybe of her talent and skill and how likable she is and how many people
Oh boy.
like her and how cool that she is and stylish and stuff.
No, 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 not jealous. I have lots of friends who do really well, much better than I do because I don't really make an effort on social media and stuff like that. And I'm happy for them. So I would say in general, we're really proud of the effort. You know, you work hard.
I
You're a good
do.
worker,
I post every day.
and you're really creative. So I used to say this when you were young, when like you had a different approach to some things than I did at comparing age to age when I was little. But it was also a different time. Like you got as far as the internet and that kind of stuff into it. Like it obviously we didn't have that when I was growing up. But I always used to tell your mom that she's going to be a better artist than I am. But I think that you see and you've already acknowledged it's a lot of work and you have to love what you do because most art is a luxury and most people don't appreciate it and
Yeah.
they don't really think about okay I took 8 hours to do this. There's a lot of stuff advances with Photoshop and Illustrator where you can do stuff like seconds where it used to take you a little bit of time, not a long time, but like the AI of this software is working with like removing backgrounds. You could do it on your phone now. You just touch on the subject and you can put it right without a background into a text. So a lot of the advancement when people say, "Oh, your graphic designer shouldn't take you more than this long," well, these days some of those tasks you can do faster
Hmm.
because of the software. But to me, there's a difference between a really good artist that's creative and has skill in meaning actual drawing or designing and uses that same software than someone who doesn't. And I can tell the difference and I the average person may not be able to, but I think it makes for better products when you hire a real designer who
I
has that
agree.
skill set. So but yeah, I think I don't know. I'm not as interested, I guess, in being famous or whatever. I just
Well, I'm not trying to be famous. I'm trying to help
it
people.
just happened.
It did. Well, it really did. Well, I'm not really, my goal isn't to be like an influencer. I just feel like
Yeah,
exactly what you said. I feel like a lot of people don't see art as a luxury and they don't really appreciate it. And I feel like the more, I when I made this podcast and I asked Diane to start this podcast with me in 2020, like when COVID was happening,
right.
because I was still working at Fanatics and I listened to podcasts all my whole 9-hour workday. And I could not find an art podcast like this. It just didn't exist. If people listening to this know of another podcast like this, like please let me know. I'd love to find it. But I searched for about a year before I was like, I just have to make it if I want it to exist. So I did. I think that's also like a difference between like a creative person and somebody who doesn't consider themselves to be creative is like I feel like a lot of artists see gaps and they're like, okay, well, I'm an artist. I'll just make it myself. So that's what I did with this
Right.
podcast. And it does well for itself too. we had over 783% growth in following in the past year. And we've been played in over 37 countries. And we're in the top 10%. This is
Sorry, I just
people
thought of
listening.
something. I
We're
just thought
we're
of something funny.
we're in the top 10% of all podcasts globally, and the top 90, or yeah, the top 10% and the top 2% of art industry podcasts.
Nice.
So it's doing really well. And even though it doesn't really seem like it from our analytics, because podcasts are kind of like a niche group, it does really well. And like I keep doing it because I have people message me all the time telling me how much they appreciate it and how much they've learned from it. And like that's the reason why I do it. It's not really for me to be famous. It's I felt like I saw a need for it and that's why I did it. So I just do it.
Yeah.
But I will say with the AI art and AI and Chat GPT, we were talking about Chat GPT before we started recording. I agree with what you're saying, and that is another reason why I think that honestly it's funny because I feel like I can probably see the future, like I'm probably a psychic or whatever. And I think about the future and I think about AI, and there is probably within the next 10 years going to be a lot of jobs lost to AI and features like Chat GPT, because Chat GPT can like write code for you and stuff. There are going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be lost, and I just don't think that art is one of them, even though it was like the first thing to kind of come out of like the whole AI art thing. And it's weird because I feel like a lot of people, I've gone, I don't know, you're not really on Twitter, but I look on Twitter and I see so many people have like AI artists in their bio, and it's like you're just coming up with prompts and then just picking what the computer made. And it's crazy to me because a lot of people are, they're trying to get work as like book cover illustrators using AI art, which
Well, you
there's
still, it's not perfect yet, though. There's a lot of good platforms that do really good pieces of art, but I think if you use it, some people I know that have would take parts from it. So if they put a prompt in and they get an image, it's not perfect. And it does, some of the platforms do well, some of them don't necessarily do faces well, depending on what your prompt is.
hands.
So there's skill in knowing how to do the prompt, but then also they may take 3 or 4 images, put that in Photoshop, and create their layers and merge stuff together. So
Well,
it's also how you use it, and how people are
that's the
using it.
mark of an artist. Some people are just letting the AI make stuff and they're trying to sell it on things. There's one person that have you heard of OnlyFans?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Okay, you know what it's for then?
Yes.
Okay, so there's this one guy who is making pictures of like nude women in AI art programs and making an OnlyFans out of those pictures. And it's just some dude, and the woman's not a real person. Hypothetically, I don't know how you would make a face from nothing. I feel like
You can
that's
add, see, I don't know what that person is doing, but you can also add images for reference. So if you want to reference an artist or an artist style, you can add pictures in there. That's why a lot of the art community is up in arms about it, is because it's like you can't, they're like, if the AI is using our artwork unauthorized, then that's a problem. And there's a lot of people, if you say I want it in this style, the the AI has to reference that artist,
yeah.
because they've got to reference it to see, well, how would that artist handle this particular thing? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know. Again, I don't know what this person did, but if they put in a photograph to start, like maybe they just had the portrait, the face, and it's finishing the body or whatever. They can do that, and with the right prompts. I mean, that's the thing. If you spend enough time with it and you get to know how to write your prompts better, then some people do a little bit better. The people that I know aren't artists. And for myself personally, that's the fun. Is like I'd rather do the art myself. Like there's one that does
Yeah.
portraits. I've seen a few people do it. It's like, oh, I could tell that's from the the one that I forget what it's. I think it might just be called Portrait AI or something. I
No,
can't
yeah.
remember, but but I've drawn my portrait a couple times. I'd rather just do it myself. It's not. It's kind of neat, but I wouldn't have a need for that. But I could see someone who isn't an artist, and you can get these nice portraits of yourself if you want to use them for avatars or things like that. I can see the appeal to it. I just would rather just do it myself. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
I had a few people reach out to me too because they did the AI portraits for like to try and make like a profile picture of
right.
themselves, and they were like I feel like it got close, but like I was wondering if you could just make one. And I think that's another reason why I feel like I'm not worried about it taking the jobs of, I mean, maybe production artists should be a little bit worried, but creative artists, no, because AI art, at least right now, it's not at a point where it's editable. You type in a prompt and you get flat images. And like you said, an actual artist can take those images and use them as references and use them as separate layers in a Photoshop file and like make something out of that. And I feel like that is a really useful tool, but I totally understand and support like artists who are angry about their work being used without their consent, because I have also seen artists post. So I'm on Twitter a lot and I follow a lot of artists on Twitter, and I have seen a couple of people show their artwork and then something that AI made, and it is almost indistinguishable. It's very clearly like somebody went in and said to the AI artist, like, pull inspiration from this artist and make this. But it came out so similar that it was almost like a blatant copy in like a slightly different color palette and style. And I'm like, okay, that's wrong. And the fact that people are making money off of this. A lot of people, I think, are minting NFTs using the AI art. I feel like
Hmm.
there's copyright issues because how are we to really even know, especially if you're not an artist and you're not following the art community and you say, okay, well, I know this one artist name, I kind of like their style, so I'm just going to use their name in the prompt and like get something similar to what they do. If you're not like following artists of a similar type, like, and you're not an artist, you could be blatantly like just ripping somebody off using AI art. And I don't know if you heard too, there was somebody that I saw tweeting about it. They tried to illustrate a book cover using AI art and they couldn't because it was a copyright issue. And they said, okay, like this doesn't hold up under copyright, so it can't be published. So I feel like,
I think they're trying to address that. I know ArtStation did recently because people kept complaining, so they finally changed some other policies on it. But and I think that's all you can do. But I also think that my opinion is that it's going to make traditional art, physical paintings that people buy, more valuable because nobody can do that. I mean, if you're not talented, you're not an artist, you can type in whatever you want to a prompt and you can print that digital piece out if you want. I know a lot of people who do that. They make, you can print them on canvas or you can, make posters and frame it. But if you want real art, an actual painting or some sort of illustration, an artist has to do that. And there's no way around that.
yeah, especially illustration. There's a lot of like logo generators nowadays too,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, and it's crazy because
Vistaprint, Canva, a lot of them all have it in that where you have a template and a starter, and you kind of describe your business, and it spits options out for you.
yeah,
So
it's frustrating because that's another thing that I get a lot of. I don't even know if I would call these hate comments, but people just kind of pointing this out on my page because I do share. So I do a lot of brand design. I'm trying to get into that industry because it's fun and it's lucrative as well. So I was drawn to like the industry. I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And every time I do like a brand design, I screen record my laptop and I'll take the footage. It's low effort content. I can just record myself doing what I already would be doing anyway and then pop it on TikTok with a voiceover. And I had a few people comment and say, like, this is so stupid that you're putting so much effort into this, because I can literally go and like AI generate a logo for super cheap, or I can go on this website and get one for $10 and it's vectorized and it's ready to go. But it's very strange to me that people don't see the value in having a actual like professional creative person like put in effort to make you something that's unique. Because something I've noticed too about like the AI generated logos is like they all kind of look very cookie cutter and the same. So I don't know.
And that's just based on how the machine, like what was fed to it for it to learn. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing I would say though is we have to be careful with some of that because, for example, Fiverr, there are a lot of artists in other countries that, like your mom was telling me a story about this one guy that had made a photography book. In his country, like $500 can pay all his bills for the month. So if you have an artist on Fiverr that's from a country where the cost of living is much lower, and they can do that for 10, 20 US dollars, you're a person who can't afford an artist to spend 500 or more on a logo. It's an option for you. But that artist, there are some really good artists in those other countries. Some of them maybe not as much, but some of them are really good, and you get a good product still from a professional. They just don't need to charge as much because you're going to pay them in US dollars. The translation into their currency is a lot higher, and they've just paid their bills for a month over one or two logos, just simply because of how low they can charge. They'll get more customers, and they make the living they need. They're not necessarily rich, but they pay their bills, so and they're happy with that. So they're still
Yeah.
really artists, and they're good. It's just a matter of we have a higher cost of living in the United States, and there's an industry standard that has never went up. There's a lot of stuff that we do that is the same cost as it was 20 years ago, and it's just about the value of art. There's got to be demand. It's like
Yeah.
NFTs. People, he just hit his timing was just right. To make as much as he did with NFTs, and it's not exactly the same. And how the path of NFTs is gone now is completely different.
I
But in the
know. This
beginning, man, that just exploded. It went crazy
no,
for
and
a lot of reasons. But
anyone who wants to learn more about NFTs, I interviewed two or three different NFT artists on this podcast, and it's super informative. I know a lot of people are really against them. I've had people attack me for just even wanting to talk to them about it, but it's like you got to be open minded with this stuff, because this is the future. This is the technology that's coming in, and as much as it sucks and how some people are using it in ways that you might think, oh, like they're ripping off artists or whatever, like it's here to stay, and it's only gonna technology is only gonna advance further. So you might as well learn about it and benefit off of it as much as you can, instead of just fighting it and saying no. Because like in the 90s, people like did not like the internet. They were like, I don't want the internet in my house, I don't want a computer in my house. And now it's everywhere, it's in your pocket, you know, like there, you can't stop it from happening, so you might as well just inform yourself and try to benefit off of it the best that you can. Because there's a lot of artists who hate, they're against NFTs, they're against AI art. And now that it exists, it exists. Adobe, I don't know if they went back on it or not, but Adobe is accepting AI art into Adobe Stock, I think. Is that what it's called? Adobe Stock
yeah,
Photos?
Joey Stock, yeah,
Yeah, like it's here to stay.
yeah, yeah,
Like there's nothing, I mean, it's not like there's nothing you can do. Obviously, if you feel like it's stealing, like I said, like if it's a blatant rip off, obviously, and it's already been proven too that some certain things don't hold up under copyright, but that's like all you can really do is learn about it and inform yourself,
mhm,
really. Because now that it exists and it's out, like there's no taking it away. Like you can't backtrack and undo it. It exists now and the public has access to it. So
yeah. And it happens. I mean, a lot of your work is taken without you even knowing about it, and it has nothing to do with AI. And
Yeah,
you don't even know. You just
people
say,
can
"Wait a
literally
minute."
screenshot your stuff. I've had people make fake accounts of me before, just screenshotting my art and posting it and saying, "I drew this yesterday." No, you didn't. It's fine. There's people stealing stuff everywhere. It's
Yeah,
gross, but I mean, at least AI pulls from a bunch of different places. And honestly, that's kind of how a human artist works, just without the creative aspect of it. It's
right.
more mechanical. But I mean, if you think about it, the way that artists create things is they take from their experiences and things that they've seen in their life and they use that to make art. And that's kind of all the AI is doing. And I spoke about that on we had an episode at the end of season 2 with he's a painter, Chris Thomas. We talked about AI art towards the end of our episode there as well. Oh, and I just to remind you guys, we're recording this on February 5th. So if there's been some huge breakthrough in AI art and we're not mentioning it, it's not because I'm trying to hide it or something. It's because it's February in current time right now and this episode comes out in May. So that's why, in case something happens, because sometimes those things happen.
Oh,
So, talking about AI art as well, there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot happening, a lot more than in recent years in like current art news and developments in the art world. Is there anything that you find particularly exciting other than AI art? And also, do you have any advice for how artists and industry professionals can stay current with news and developments such as AI art?
well, I think there's a lot of stuff that even like what you're doing right now. There's a lot of different people that are doing podcasts. They may not be specific to artwork, but like one of the newsletters I get is called The Hustle, and they started doing a podcast that was just basically like an abbreviation of their newsletter. But then those same people also do another podcast. So sometimes you learn about tech or different things in the industry. One of my favorite ones I get is called Smashing Magazine. They do a lot of stuff around front end development, so there's a lot of design, but a lot of the best stuff that I've gotten as far as resources and tools for UI design specifically came from basically that newsletter and linking out and following the links to other websites and other things. And so I think, just be aware of as much stuff as out there in the particular category that you want to get involved in from that standpoint. There's a lot of people doing a lot of good work in tech. AI is kind of like what you just said. I would recommend that people just get to know it. You don't necessarily have to use it in a way that you feel is fraudulent, but just at least be aware of the technology because these are things that, there's a lot of artists that, as an illustrator, they use photos for reference and they also actually do trace things. And that's so they can get a likeness of somebody a lot better, like from a photograph. Now they may take their own photographs. Some just draw it from that photograph, but some actually use light tables and projectors to blow stuff up. And that's the thing in illustration world. No, I mean that's it's not unheard of. It's not frowned upon. People just do it.
I think more often than not, illustrators trace
Yeah, I mean,
references.
not everything, not every single element, but if you want it to look like that person, unless you're stylized like a cartoonist, and it look and you're a caricature artist and you're doing it that way, that's a little bit different. But in the sense of like movie posters and things, unless it's an actual photograph, just a digital photograph poster, if it's an illustration, a lot of those illustrators to get the likeness, they're using photos, and they're using that through basically a projector or a light box or something, just to make sure they have the likeness correct. And their sketches and their mock-ups before they do the poster, they're all drawings, complete drawings. It looks like the person, and they drew it. They did not trace it, But when they go to the actual finished piece, they want to make sure it's tight and it's just right, and that's what they do. So it's just another process that, at least get familiar with it and learn it. And then depending on the industry you're in, there's always people that are going to innovate in that particular industry, and just learn who they are. LinkedIn does a fairly good job of some of those things and following people, and the newsletters that are on there. There's a lot of stuff you can get to come right to your inbox, and podcasts you can listen to. Just stay involved in your community specific to what you want to do as much as possible, because that's going to drive the innovation and the technology that changes. Even Adobe, right? Photoshop has changed so much. A lot of people in the beginning, so there's Creative Cloud now, so subscription based. There were so many artists in the beginning that were against it. I mean, against it. I really enjoy it because I know I'm always going to have the latest updated software, and whatever I need to learn for that, if it changes, then I'll learn it because they have all these tools available, and I just pay that subscription. But there were people even 4 or 5 years into it, and I'm going to keep my copy of Creative Suite. It used to be Creative Suite instead of Creative Cloud. Of the last version, I think maybe it was Creative Suite 6. I can't remember, but they were like, no, because I want to have my copy on my desktop. I don't want to, what if they just take it away, or they had all these crazy thoughts. But, it's the same thing. Adobe's changing. They're trying to compete with, of course, they just bought Figma, but they were trying to compete with the idea of a browser-based software and things like that. And so, it helps you to kind of know, yeah, Photoshop's industry, but stuff is also changing. So, if you're going to do UI or any kind of work in prototyping, learn Figma as well, in addition to Sketch and other stuff. And if you're not willing to put in that time for that, then you have to, if someone's expecting you to know those things, you have to say, oh, I don't know it. And if you're too stubborn to learn it, you're not going to get the opportunity. So just whatever industry you're in, just find out who those innovators are, and then also you can look at job postings, what people want you to know in that industry. Even if you start your own business and you're not going to apply to that job, it still gives you an indication like, oh, they're using this software now. I need to learn that software if I want to be relevant. So those are just a couple things that you can do.
I feel like I hear a lot on Twitter too.
I used to be. I just it. I don't know what it's like now since
Lil Musk.
yeah,
I'm
Elon's
gonna
involvement. That's what I was going to say. But
Lil Musk, he
I didn't
actually
like.
is kind of ruining it. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
really?
Yeah, I think that so the main issue I have is usually when you have a Twitter account on your birthday, if you click on your account, it has a bunch of balloons. He took that away. And I don't know why he would do that because that was my favorite part. So yeah, he's kind of ruining it. He also moved some of the buttons around. I don't feel like that was necessary. Now I try every time I like a tweet or I go to like it, I hit the wrong button, and it's really annoying. But when Elon Musk did buy Twitter, he did like bring everybody back on, but he also came up with some really dumb ideas like, oh, let's do like Twitter Gold and you can pay to have a blue check mark. And so he did that, and everybody made accounts pretending to be him, and they all were verified because everybody was paying for the blue check mark. So there was
Yeah,
like a million Elon Musks, and it was really funny because like the main one, she was like a comedian, I think, and he kicked all those people off of Twitter permanently for impersonating him. So I feel like it was a little hypocritical. But because he said the whole reason he wanted to buy Twitter in the first place was to bring back all those people that got kicked off of Twitter.
well, for free speech, to make sure that both opinions are heard. It's like
Well,
it doesn't necessarily mean
maybe
that
maybe their opinion was that they are Elon Musk now.
they identified as Elon Musk.
Yeah, and they did, and they got the blue check mark. So now everybody is Elon Musk.
Mm, I guess if that's your goal.
Anyway, so before we hop off, because we have gone over time by about 13 minutes already.
Okay.
Looking back on your journey, what advice would you give to aspiring artists and those in the early stages of their art careers?
I think the first thing I would say is it's kind of like what you already talked about here. And it seems kind of cliche, but if you really want to do it, depending on what, there's so many different avenues you could take. Art is a general term, right? But just don't give up if you really want to do it, and just keep doing more art and getting better at your craft, because design, illustration, everything has its own um, discipline, right? And designing a website is different from designing just a logo, or designing a t-shirt is completely different. And so you kind of have to know those nuances and what you need to accomplish, but you need to be, or you should strive to be, good at what you do there. And if you do that, I think it'll work itself out. Just don't give up. But you have to really love it to not give up, because if you don't, then it's easy just to not do it because you don't care about it. Um, but if you do care about it and you really love it, just really be a good student of your craft, and don't give up. Just keep trying, because it will. I've seen a ton of stories. It eventually does happen.
All right. So, unless you have anything else to add, I think we should wrap it up.
All right.
Do you have anything else to add?
I do not. I think we talked about a lot, so I'm good.
Okay. So, before we hop off, why don't you go ahead and do your self promo, where people can find you, and ways that they can support you? I know this is coming out in May, but just anything that you have right now, and anything that you add in the future, I can add to the description of the episode.
Yeah, really, just mostly Instagram is where I post it all. I will share with Facebook, but at Billy Merryman Art is my Instagram, and I just, most of what I post there is personal stuff. My portfolio is on ArtStation, so you'll find me there at Billy Merryman ArtStation. But as far as just following my personal work, or I do post some personal or some professional stuff too, but that's really where mostly I share stuff. Um, Even if I were to get a Twitter account again or something like that, I always post first Instagram and just share it with the other platforms. So if you want to see what I'm doing first, Instagram is the place.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
All right.
Second, part two, second episode. You're the second person to have two episodes in the history of Artwise. Congratulations. Second place
Okay.
once again, just like your second place to me.
Who was the
So,
first? Who had two episodes?
Jen,
Oh, okay.
Jen Carmiel. But yeah, thanks for coming on. If
All
you
right.
guys are still listening and you've made it this far in the episode, we have a Patreon now. So if you want to listen to some bonus episodes, and have access to some additional perks of being an Artwise listener, you can check us out there. We also have merch on my website. That's katemerrymanart.com/shop. And we have an Instagram called Artwise Podcast. And there is links to everything else there if you want to check that out. But thank you so much, Dad, for coming on again, and
You're welcome.
thanks everybody for listening. And I'll see all of you guys again next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye.